Chapter 15, Jovia Sensei's Seminar Part 2. Sena and his classmates were split into groups based on their seating arrangement and were to take the various tests, with each group moving to a different venue. Unlike the training sessions, the practical tests were to be taken individually with an instructor, so there was no need to waste time waiting. The place Sena was brought to was a courtyard-like space the size of a gymnasium. Overgrown with trees, it didn't feel like a neat and tidy garden. It was more like a natural forest, with an open ceiling structure and a walkway running all around it, overlooking the surrounding area. Oh, so this is the exam venue. There were staff members scattered in several places along the walkway, looking down at the garden. This is a test to detect where monsters are hiding. First, you will have to get through here by yourself, but there are dummies emitting weak magical energy hidden in various places in the forest. You will have to avoid them, or if you can't avoid them, move while facing the place where they might be hiding. Well, it's called a test, but half of it is a training course. We'll give you an answer after all the students have completed the course. After receiving the explanation, those waiting for their turn moved to a waiting area. Each person was called by number and went out to the exam hall. It was not very large, so there was only enough room for one person. Next, Sena was called fifth and headed to the courtyard. Aren't you going to visualize the magical elements? It feels like I'm cheating. Really? Then it would be better if you didn't ask for my assistance. Yes, that's true. Sena proceeded with his experience and intuition. His experience walking through the magic tree forest when he was lost helped him out. Perhaps because he was exposed to the dense air back then, he was now quite sensitive to the presence of monsters. Come to think of it, hunting pittos was good training. In pitto hunting, the entrances and exits of the burrow were an important element of the hunt, but it was also important to predict where the monster was hiding in the burrow's tunnels. Depending on the location, you needed to think about holes to set traps and holes to scare them. Sena also used magic visualization at first, but by the end he was able to roughly sense the presence of the monsters. When he actually walked through the natural forest at the testing site, he found that although there were some densely packed areas, it was fairly open and easy to walk through. He avoided any areas that seemed dangerous, and if he felt like something was lurking, he faced it so that he could respond if it attacked him. Sena's test was over in just 5 minutes. That's pretty quick for the first time. Now go to the back and receive further instructions. The staff member waiting at the exit said, and sent a signal to the staff member in the passage above. Those staff members would then send signals in turn, which would then be transmitted to the next group of students waiting to take the exam. The next place to be held was a physical fitness test. But Yes, Senachi, follow me. The rest of you go on in. After going up the stairs, Jovia was at the entrance to the next testing site. Wearing silver-rimmed glasses, a low-cut shirt, and a white coat, she looked like either a medical doctor or a scientist. The other students who were with him seemed relieved to be away from Jovia and quickly made their way to the venue as instructed. That's a really obvious outfit. It suits her so well that it's hard to tell if she's serious or joking. I've seen it at the GP in the past. The people over there seem to be serious, but I guess it's best to treat Jovia-san as a joke. Remembering the doctor who tried to seduce him, Sena was led by Jovia to a small conference room. Jovia closed the door and the sound of the lock clicking could be heard. So, what can I help you with? In order to avoid looking unnatural and to give him a chance to escape, he moved to a position where he was facing Jovia with the desk between them. Just a quick question. Has Sena been scientifically enhanced in space? If so, isn't it a bad idea to test you with the other children? Oh, that's a surprisingly reasonable request. I don't know where the pitfalls are lurking, though. Jovia's credibility was 0. You know, isn't that a common thing? Guns attached to their arms, beams coming out of their eyes, flames coming out of their mouths, missiles coming out of their stomachs or knees, or maybe their hair turns into needles that fly. It's Jovia after all. For some reason, Jovia looked at Sena with an excited look on her face and licked her lips with a thrilled expression. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I haven't had any modifications of that nature. It's just a basic body strengthening treatment called bioenhancement. Oh, really? That's boring. I was so excited thinking that with the scientific power of the universe, a whole-body super weapon would be possible. Jovia's mouth twisted into a little bit of a grimace, and she looked extremely dissatisfied. What do you think people are, after all? The GP is a police organization, not an evil organization or anything. And I joined as a regular member, you know. Really? But from what I've heard, weren't you in a special forces unit? It's a decoy unit. It would be different if they were a unit meant to annihilate the enemy, but their role is simply to lure the pirates away so targets can escape. In Sena's case, his body had only been bioenhanced, but the ship he was given was a special edition. Is that so? So what exactly does this bioenhancement involve, and to what extent? The whole body should be trained evenly. It's dangerous if the balance is not right, from the musculoskeletal system to the nervous system and internal organs. In terms of physical fitness tests, I'd say it's about 5 times the average man's record. That makes sense for space super science. Well, there is the Guardian system, an external support technology similar to a powered suit. The enhancements needed to become the base for that are enough. Guardian system? Sena used magic to create a Guardian-like system out of air pressure and covered his right hand, demonstrating the movement of an air arm twice the size of his own arm. A mechanical function is created using a force field. That's the simplest explanation. If it's advanced enough, it could be used to go from a planet to space in a portable capacity. In the hands of an unconventional philosopher like Washu, interstellar travel might even be possible. I see, but I can do that much with magic too. Although it was a ridiculous statement, it was certainly easy to teleport using spirit threads. If you were in a higher satellite orbit, moving between points was also easy. It's really amazing, isn't it? But with the amount of magical energy I have right now, I don't think I'll be able to do it. By the way, how long does the Guardian system last for? That really varies. In fact, that's not how it's used. What do you mean by that? The point is, it's kind of an adventure, like crossing the Pacific Ocean in a yacht. Normally you'd travel by spaceship or a teleportation gate. I kind of get it. The magic I use is partly romantic. But yes, if your body is already strong enough before you use magic to enhance it, then it's possible to further increase it with magic. If you think about it like that, it's quite useful. By the way, how do you control that enhanced strength? She was indeed a capable pervert. She asked a pertinent question. I received the usual training to control my strength. Well, at first, I wore a restraint suit and slowly got used to it. I was asked to build various structures using building blocks that break when a certain amount of force is applied. I see. Perhaps that intimidation is also a form of bioenhancement? No. There is someone who uses that kind of intimidating technique, so I tried to imitate it, and it seems that the magic worked. I see, but it felt different from normal intimidation. What I felt at that time was more of a negative anxiety than pressure, I think. It wasn't the intimidation of the high-ranking monsters we talked about in the training, so I felt like I knew what Sena was feeling, anxiety. Certainly at that time, I felt like I was recreating the feelings I have when dealing with a normal crisis. It's hard to explain though. I see. Broken is a good way to put it. Remembering what Elian had said, she nodded slightly, understanding. Huh. The deadly fear that Senachi always felt? Well, if you think about it, directing that fear directly at the other person, it makes sense that Hato-kun got so scared he fainted. Kaka. Please stop bringing that kind of topic up. If that's the case, does that mean you're always feeling that anxious, Sena? I'm surprised you're still alive. Well, I've gotten used to it, that's all I can say. That's not something you can just get used to. You're insane. I don't want to hear that from Jovia. But if she were to use intimidation, it would cause a different kind of anxiety, or rather confusion, than what happened with Sena. You can say that. Huh? Hey, what are you thinking? She had a really keen sense for when people were talking badly about her. She seemed to have guessed it from Sena's silence. I was wondering what would happen if Jovia used intimidation. Well, there was no point in hiding it, so he just pointed it out straight away. Well, what are you talking about, Panic? In response to the sudden counterattack, Jovia nodded her head cutely. What are you talking about? I can't use such an unreasonable technique. You do similar things with magic, don't you? Yes. She quickly agreed. Yes, yes, it's good. It's good. This feeling of being able to make a joke and have someone immediately point it out. I've always wanted a partner who gives me this reaction. That's why I'm getting married. For now, it seems we've finished talking, so can we go back over there? Yeah, I like that response too. Wait. Don't go. More scorn, more shoving. Shove it in, she said as she circled around the desk to get closer to Sena. Stop saying things that could be misunderstood by others. Of course, Sena also put some distance between them. Let those who want to misunderstand be allowed to do so. My body has become such that I can't stand it without being pushed around after Seinachi thrusts into me. Jovia shouted as she charged toward Sena. At that moment, Sena used this. This is. Then, something touched Sena's hand, and when he saw it, he understood everything. The next moment he grabbed it, there was a loud bang as the paper fan was swung down on Jovia's head. Huh? Even Jovia stopped her charge and looked dumbfounded, with her mouth hanging open. It seems that preparing for something like this came in handy. I can't help but feel like I've done something that can't be undone. Oh. I never thought he'd bring out that sacred treasure. Well, I thought something like this might happen. Sena, you're terrible, but I guess I lost. For the time being, Jovia's rampage had stopped. But there was no telling when it might happen again. Sena had stepped into a Jovia-like minefield. That's a nasty win/loss. Needless to say, this became Sena's ultimate weapon against Jovia from then on. But I'm happy. This girl is no good, we have to do something. The end. To cut straight to the point, Sena passed the physical fitness test with Jovia's authority and was declared a pass. Of course, the staff didn't raise any objections to the decision. After that duel, Sena was already being considered the same type as Jovia, so it was only natural. It is said that if you don't touch the gods, they won't curse you. Needless to say, there was also the thought that if Jovia paid attention to Sena, the damage to others would be greatly reduced. Okay, now that we have the results for the Magic Forest, we can begin the training. The space was small, so staff members would lead the explanation in groups of 10. Of course, Jovia would be leading Sena's group. First, let's find out where they are hiding. Jovia walked over to where the goblin dolls were already visible. They probably left it there because they were explaining about it to the previous group. It's a hassle to put it back every time. I can't believe they were in a place like this. The one who spoke, leaving Sena speechless, was the girl sitting next to him, Lurin. The goblin was hiding at the base of a tree, half buried in the soil, in a small amount of shrubbery where you wouldn't expect anything to be hiding. However, the goblin had an abnormally thin body, like a burdock, with extremely thin limbs and a torso. All of these guys have actually been sighted. Broadly speaking, there are types that take advantage of their body shape. The most common are those with small bodies that can hide anywhere. It's fine if they just hide, but the worst ones are those that use the thorns of the magic tree to attack. Many magic trees had thorny bark, and some secreted sap containing poison or paralyzing toxins that could be used as weapons. Or maybe they're in a place that's hard to see because of their fur color. Goblins with long black fur were hiding in the shade of the trees created by the strong sunlight. Some of them had spotted camouflage. There are those who even disguise themselves. Some of them are quite advanced. They smeared mud, dead leaves, green grass, bark, etc. all over their bodies and hid in places that suited them. Another scary thing is that sometimes there are blind spots. When you finally make it back to the village from the magic tree forest and try to rest in the shade of a tree in an open area, it's not uncommon to find a goblin right next to you. Does that really happen? Didn't it happen during the Pitto hunt? Like, suddenly popping out of some small hollow? Most of the students nodded, as if they had some idea of what Jovia was talking about. Most of the time, they hide to protect themselves, but there are many cases of people being attacked head-on and seriously injured. There have also been cases of injured people being attacked while resting. During the training session just now, we talked about exterminating the ones that were in the village, right? It's what you were talking about. Curiosity, right? That's right. Monsters don't leave their territory unless there's an external factor, but that's not the case with goblins. That's why they spread out over such a wide area, but that also increases their points of contact with hunter-adventurers. And because they're smart, their behavior patterns become more diverse, so if you don't keep up to date with them constantly, you'll suffer unexpected damage. They're a nuisance, aren't they? That's why goblins were the subject of this seminar. On the other hand, their diverse habits also had the advantage of being able to serve as a reference for various monsters. By the way, just for your reference, Seinachi got a perfect score on the previous test. What? The highest score among the students other than Seina was 5 points. While the average score was 1 or 2, Seina's number was extraordinary. All of them looked at Seina in surprise. Well, I guess I just avoided places that gave me a bad feeling. I see. It's a case of intuition based on experience. As expected of the unconventional guy. But in Seinachi's case, he seems to have a lot of combat experience despite his plain face, so this is no use as a reference. It's an example of something you shouldn't do, so ignore him. Then don't say it. If there's an opportunity, she'll throw in a silly remark. The point is, you have no choice but to steadily gain experience. Jovia nodded in satisfaction at Lauren's words. If she really wanted the students to realize this, she should have found a way to gain their trust, but that would be impossible for Jovia. That's important, but there's one way to help with goblin detection. It's not foolproof, but it's a pretty effective method. Jovia took out a small bag from the spirit thread storage. Yeah. For a moment, Seina frowned, but the others didn't react at all. They looked at Jovia, who was frowning just like Seina, curiously. This is a mixture of goblin scent glands and other things. If you smell this for too long, it will make you feel uncomfortable. Like a mild allergy? I'll distribute these to everyone except the insane guy who has already had a reaction, so make sure you keep them with you at all times. This. They didn't like being told those were goblin scent glands. This time, everyone except Seina frowned. It usually develops in about a week. You'll start to feel uncomfortable, and then you can throw it away. You said it would develop, didn't you? Are you sure you're okay? The student who received one picked it up with 2 fingers as if holding something dirty and tried to hold it as far away from their body as possible. It's like a danger signal, and once your magical organs have memorized it, you'll be able to tell when a goblin is nearby. Well, it's just a little unpleasant. It's not like it will cause any physical harm or anything, so don't worry. Really? Jovia's credibility was already 0. Seinachi, you don't have itchy eyes or an itchy nose, right? Yes, it's just that it smells bad. But it does make you feel pretty bad, doesn't it? I made the effects a little stronger so it's easier to remember. It's not as bad in the Sea of Magic Trees. But it would certainly be easier if it helped them know when there were goblins nearby. After a thorough explanation of the dangers of goblins, the students began to show interest. However, there are other strong smells, and it can blend in with the water or mud, so it's not guaranteed to be detected, so don't be overconfident. It's only a supplementary item, so you still need to be cautious. Oh, and by the way, if you've had it for over a week and it still doesn't work, apply to the guild and get a new one. I've never heard of a case where it's ineffective for 2 weeks, so you should be able to remember it that way. Jovia took out enough for everyone and started handing them out. Some of the trainees seemed hesitant to take them, but they seemed to have given up, thinking that it couldn't be helped if it meant they could avoid danger. So, that's it for this morning, so go have lunch. The guild cafeteria is free for students if they show their number card, but other restaurants will charge you for lunch. Also, there is another exam in the afternoon, so meet at the place where we gathered this morning. Be on time.